Well, good morning. Welcome to Grandfather's Garage. I'm Grandfather. This YouTube channel is for my three grandkids, Anine, Roland, and Una, good morning kids, who unfortunately live too far away to come over on Saturday mornings and hang out in Grandfather's Garage and mess around with stuff. So this is my way of bringing the garage to them so we can do some projects and share life's little tidbits. We're going to build some stuff, we're going to repair lots of stuff, we're going to do some projects in the yard, we're going to do some fishing trips, and hopefully we're going to take some field trips as well. Also, we can just share some experiences. We're happy to have as many additional grandchildren as like to join us. Come along for the ride. We're happy to have you with us this morning, so let's go find out what we're going to work on in the garage next. Come on, let's go to the garage. Good morning. Today we're going to take a look at the Rum Barge. The Rum Barge is a floating screened-in porch that sits at our dock. Wani's vision for that spot at the dock was a houseboat with a sun deck on the roof. Reality ended up a little bit different, so this is the story of how the Rum Barge came to be. I happened to find an abandoned work barge tied up to a vacant property. The barge was in surprisingly good condition, and I arranged with the property owner to remove it at no expense to them. My good friend Kevin, who thank heavens was a builder, readily volunteered to help me with the construction project. Kevin also helped me rescue the barge and tow it home, which was a very long, slow trip. It's a lot of weight to tow behind a small boat. The barge was an old work platform, well constructed with modern poly floats underneath it. 16 foot wide by 20 foot long, it had a total area of about 320 square feet. We removed and replaced all the damaged boards and coated it with deck paint. I knew it would be exposed to storms and high wind, so it needed to be built strong. We decided all the framing would be 4x4 pressure treated lumber. We completed a set of construction drawings, bought the lumber, and got to work. We anchored the base plates with galvanized lag bolts, put a lot of extra cross bracing on all the corners, and had a lot of fun with the framing. We had Uncle Scott and a lot of neighbors volunteering to help out just because the project was so different. Very important to get the framing correct and make sure that the whole thing was very tight and stable. We added a motor mount so we could say that the barge was movable and not a permanent structure. The roof is made of T111 siding placed facing down inside so you can look up and see it and see the texture. Then we did a full roof construction with thick plywood on top of the T111, underlayment, and of course the shingles had to match the shingles on the house. We installed the drip edge and extra overhang on the roof to protect the inside from the rain and the weather as much as possible. We also enclosed the underside of the roof overhang to keep birds and bugs out. Notice the ladder stuck in the bottom of the creek so we could access the roof edges. This technique actually worked quite well and was not as hard to get out of the mud as we thought it would be, as we needed to move the ladder. So the underlayment is done and we're ready for the shingles. The only problem here is we waited until the heat of summer to shingle the roof. Shingles get very hot in the summer heat, and surprisingly, we had no volunteers those days. The Rum Barge was originally designed with a privacy wall and to look a little bit like a tea house. The window was for a stained glass piece we wanted to put down there enclosed between two pieces of poly. At this point, we realized we were adding an awful lot of extra weight to the barge. My good friend Chuck calculated the displacement of the floats we had, and we estimated the total weight of the finished project plus people. Yes, we were drinking that night, but we actually did do the math and decided we needed some additional floats. We purchased 4 additional commercial floats, and then we had to have all the neighbors stand on one end to tilt it up as far as possible, and then from the water on the other end, we pushed the extra floats into the open spaces under the deck. We barely got them under the edge, and with a lot of brute force and leverage, it worked. Chuck earned his underwater and under barge merit badge that day. This is about the time we received a call from the Virginia Marine Resources Commission agent, letting us know that a joint application permit would be required for this structure. Unfortunately, they did not buy "it's not a permanent structure because it has a motor mount" argument. Filing the permit required temporarily removing the barge to a friend's house and filing an application with the Virginia Marine Resources Commission, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the city. After several months of meeting, it was, surprisingly, approved. We paid the permit fees, but we were not allowed to have any permanent walls. Something about shading the bottom of the creek, and that still doesn't make a lot of sense to me today because it has a roof. Anyway, at that point, we decided to secure it permanently to the floating dock and the piling. These are the commercial hinges that hold it to the floating dock, and it's also secured around one of the pilings. It's hard to see, but I had to shave down the piling with a chainsaw so there was enough room for the barge to float freely up and down. The walls were removed, so sad, but we added curtains instead. We added screening on all the walls, added a screen door, added electrical for a ceiling fan, some lights, and an outlet in case we had a blender or for music. This is the design we used for the electrical service to ride up and down with the tide. The cord is on a big loop that hangs out of the way for walking around and yet has plenty of room to handle large tide swings. In case of storm damage, the screen sections were designed to be easily replaced by just removing wood strips. The name Rum Bar-ge was the idea of a friend, George, because he knows I collect rums. I made the sign by carving a piece of pressure-treated lumber and staining it, and as a special gift, Kevin carved the stone plaque stating that we had all of our permits, and they were cast in stone. We built a doggy door that you can see down in the lower left corner, so we didn't have to keep getting up and down to let the dogs in and out of the screen door. The Rum Bar-ge has ridden out many storms and thank heavens has not suffered any damage. So here it sits, attached to the pilings, riding the tide up and down twice a day, ready for a Sunday morning paper or a summer evening cocktail with friends that visit by land or preferably by boat. That's the Rum Bar-ge. Hope you enjoyed seeing how that came to be, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.